Good morning, happy Hanukkah. Welcome to Kilachari Torah's daily review of Maimonides' 613 mitzvahs for Thursday, December 2nd. Today is the fourth day of Hanukkah. Tonight is the fifth lichtel, the fifth light. We'll talk about that in a few moments. Let's just touch on a few mitzvahs from Rambam's list of the prohibitions. Hasagas Gvul is the next mitzvah that we'll take up, fraudulently altering land boundaries. We've been talking about theft and robbery and so on, various kinds of trickery in obtaining things that don't belong. In other words, for the prohibition of taking things to which we have no right. Similarly, if one were to move the land markers, move the boundary markers between one's own property and a neighbor's, such as to favor the the perpetrator, that's a prohibition of this mitzvah of hasagat gvul, of moving the boundaries, moving the boundary markers. There's an interesting conversation, very interesting and very far-ranging conversation in halacha about hasagas gvul, encroachment. When it's translated as encroachment, meaning to encroach on the business interests of another person. In other words, if a person has a bookstore open somewhere on Bathurst Street, and you decide to open a similar bookstore across the street and try to take away that person's business, that may be the way business is done in any town, but from halacha's point of view, that's called hasagas gvul, or encroachment. That's a prohibition of encroaching on another person's livelihood. We're not allowed to do it. So if you were thinking about such a thing, you might find yourself taken to a rabbinic court in such a case. Next prohibition is to usurp our debts. Not sure that's a perfect translation here. Others translate it as cheating on debts. In other words, to retain the money and refuse payment. In other words, if it's time to pay up the debt, so you pay up the debt rather than say that you don't have it. We're also prohibited by the subsequent mitzvah, following mitzvah, to repudiate our debts. We're not allowed to deal falsely by reporting that we don't actually owe them. Since we're on that topic, the following prohibition is to swear falsely in repudiating a debt. The oaths that were taken in courts usually had to do with financial issues, so one is prohibited expressly. There's a certain, of course, we're not allowed to swear falsely for any reason, but here there's a particular mitzvah prohibition of swearing falsely in repudiating a debt, to say that the debt never existed or that it was already paid off. As I mentioned before, the fifth light of Hanukkah is very special. And so in some Jewish circles, they get very excited about the fifth lichtel in Yiddish, the fifth light. This light, you notice tonight is Thursday night. We're lighting the fifth light. We never light this candle on Friday night, on Shabbos. Sometimes it'll be Motzei Shabbos, the end of Shabbos, Saturday night. Sometimes it'll be Thursday, like tonight, or could be any other nights of the week. But the fifth light of Hanukkah will never will never occur on Shabbos. So this, in that sense, the power and the majesty of the fifth light of Hanukkah is such that it can illuminate places. It can reach to places and bring light to them that even Shabbat itself cannot reach. So very powerful thought for tonight. Think about illuminating the darkness, which we've been thinking about all throughout Hanukkah. Remember to add Al Hanissim in your daily prayers and also in your Birkat Hamazon, in your grace after meals. And remember to enjoy Hanukkah. Remember to be happy. Give a lot of tzedakah and have a good time in general, right? And be thankful and appreciative to God for all the miracles, wonders, and salvations that were wrought for our ancestors at this time, back in those days, and certainly for God's ongoing providence and care and sheltering of the Jewish people wherever we may be. It should only continue and increase. Happy Hanukkah.